just in case.
Okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm the questioner and you're Moses.
Correct.
Do you recall how old you are at the time?
You need to start. Tell us what pages, though, please.
Thank you, page 7.
Let's just make sure that's where we're starting. Yes. Page 7.
Line 22. Do you recall how old you were at the time?
9.
Okay, I'm turning the page.
You need to clarify that for me.
We're going to back up because there's some gray. Could you just spell your name for the record?
Protected identity.
Okay, so we all stipulate this is Moses Martin.
Yes.
I'm on page 7. As you know, we're talking about this ski collision that occurred about 4.5 years ago. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And I'm going to pick up where I was. Do you recall how old you were at the time?
9.
Okay, and you recall this ski trip in February of 2016, correct?
Yes.
About 4.5 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you recall skiing that morning that your mother was involved in the ski collision, correct?
Yes.
I'm now turning the page to page 9 at the bottom. Okay. When this ski collision occurred, do you recall where you were at the moment the ski collision occurred?
I do not recall where I was at the moment it occurred.
Did you see the ski collision?
I did not see the actual collision.
Okay, so let's just start maybe at the beginning of the run. You got off a chairlift, correct?
Yes.
And the run is called Bandana. Are you familiar with the Bandana run?
Yes.
Okay, at the time of the collision, did you, or just before the collision occurred, you were skiing from the top, is that correct?
Yes.
And who were you skiing with?
From what I recall, my instructor, Eric. Page 11.
Page 11, line 22. And you were skiing with Eric as your ski instructor just before the collision, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall who else was skiing with you at that time?
No.
Was your sister, AM, meaning Apple, nearby?
Yes.
Do you know where she was in relation to you on the hill?
No.
Could she have been below you?
Yes.
You don't recall seeing your sister?
Not exactly, no.
Tell us what happened on the Bandana run just before the collision. What do you recall?
I recall skiing with my instructor and briefly seeing the collision. And then he skied over and I followed him. And I saw my mother and a person behind her that he had crashed. Who had crashed?
Okay, did you hear a noise before the collision?
No.
And the person behind her, was that a man?
Yes.
Moving to the top of page 13, was this person uphill from your mother?
Yes.
How close were they, your mother and this other man?
As I recall, decently close.
Let's just say, this close, see my hands, they're about a foot, about 14 inches apart, or were they further apart?
I think something like that, but I'm not 100% sure.
Were they touching each other?
I do not remember.
Was her head above her skis, so her head was uphill and her skis were downhill?
Yes.
And the man that was nearby her, where was his head in relation to hers or to his body? Was his head uphill or downhill?
Uphill.
So I'm just going to go back a little bit. So when did you first realize your mom was involved in a collision? How did you realize that?
I realized the equipment that she was wearing because I know that she wears what she wears when she skis. And then I realized that it was my mom. So I was standing around. I realized that it was my mother.
And did you hear a noise that told you there was something going on, a commotion or anything?
When I skied over, I heard my mom yelling at the guy.
What was she saying?
She was saying something along the lines of, "What the F word? You just ran into me."
And anything else that you recall at that moment?
No.
Was she standing up when she said that?
I do not fully remember, but I believe she was on the ground lying down.
Okay, did she get up by herself?
I do not remember.
I'm just going to go back in slow motion to, let's say, 3 seconds before this collision occurred. You were skiing with Eric. If you're facing downward, skier's left is on the left side and skier's right is on the right side. Do you know which side you were on the hill just before this collision occurred?
I was on the left side.
Do you know how far on the left you were?
No.
Do you think that...
But farish.
Okay. Were you closer to the left edge of the ski hill?
I believe so, yes.
And do you recall anyone else on the hill at that moment?
I do not remember.
Were there other skiers on the hill?
Yes.
About how many?
I'm not sure.
And so, what made you ski over to your mother? Did someone tell you?
I was following my instructor, but I did not know what was going on.
So you followed your instructor over to where your mother and this other man were lying down, correct?
Yes.
That scene, your mother and this man laying down, what else do you recall?
I recall skiing over, seeing a few people around them. I remember my instructor seeing what was happening. And then I remember my mom on the ground downhill of the man that was uphill from her. And I recall that they were both on the ground at the time that I skied over.
About how far away do you think they were?
I do not recall. About a foot, maybe?
I'm asking how far apart your mother and the man were when you skied over there.
I'd say a foot, maybe more.
Were they touching?
I do not remember.
And do you remember your mother getting up?
Yes, but not for a while.
Okay, how long was a while? 5 or 10 seconds?
I'd say 2 minutes, maybe.
And how did she get up?
I do not remember.
Did she get up by herself?
I do not remember.
Did someone help her?
I do not remember.
Do you recall a large man next to the ski collision location?
I do not remember.
You said there were some other people there. What do you remember?
I remember seeing a few people, not a lot, but maybe 3 people, not including my instructor.
So there was your mother, the man that was involved in the collision, and then there was your instructor. Were there any other people?
I believe so.
How many other people do you think?
I do not recall.
Was there 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 maybe?
I do not recall.
And then what did you do after you skied down to your mother?
I stood there wondering what was going on, and then I believe that afterwards we went to eat lunch.
I remember it. And who is we?
As I remember, it was being me and my instructor, and I'm not sure whether my mother came down afterwards or with us.
So you skied down with your instructor to the bottom
Yes,
of the hill?
to lunch.
So you skied down the hill with your instructor, Eric Christensen?
Yes.
Anyone else ski down with you?
I do not remember.
Just before the collision, your sister was somewhere in the area skiing with you?
I believe so.
Anyone else in the area?
I don't remember.
Do you recall Apple's ski instructor?
No,
Do you recall her being present, the ski instructor for Apple?
I don't remember.
Do you remember Apple's ski instructor's name being Carrie Oakes? Carrie?
I believe so.
So was anything said when you came down to the collision site where your mother and this man were?
My mother said to the guy, "What the F word? You just ran into me."
And then anything else that you recall?
Not that I recall.
Were people talking?
I believe so.
Was the man talking?
I do not remember.
When I say the man, I mean the man that was involved on the ground or the snow next to your mother. I think it should be on the snow next to your mother, correct?
What do you...
When I say the man next to your mother, the person that was involved in the ski collision.
Yes.
So that's...
I do not remember if he was talking or not.
Okay, do you remember if your ski instructor, Eric Christensen, was talking?
I do. I don't have a closer memory on that, no.
Did anyone besides your mother say that they had seen the collision?
I do not remember.
Do you remember talking about the ski collision at the bottom of the hill?
Vaguely.
What do you recall?
My mother saying that she got hit or ran into.
You said you went to lunch afterwards, correct?
Yes.
Did you discuss the ski collision at lunch?
I believe so.
What do you recall?
Not much.
Who was at lunch with you after the ski collision?
Oh, the only people that I remember are my sister, my instructor, and my mother.
Since the day of the collision, have you talked about the ski collision with anyone? Anyone else you've talked to about the ski collision?
I don't remember.
Do you think you might have talked about it with some other people?
I don't remember.
I'm now on page 25. When you skied down to the collision site before you left, did you notice any ski patrol or medical people come by?
I do not recall.
Do you recall any other people in green uniforms at the collision site besides your ski instructor?
I do not remember.
Before the ski collision, do you recall saying something to the effect of, "Hey, watch me ski"?
No.
Have you ever said something like that?
No.
After the collision, this is bottom of page 26, after the collision, when you were watching your mom and this man on the ground, did Eric appear angry at all?
Not at all.
Was he yelling, raising his voice, shouting, anything along those lines?
No, not at all.
Why are you so sure? It seems like your memory's a little faded in some areas, which is okay and understandable, but I want to know why you're so sure about this.
Because I remember him addressing the situation very calmly.
How so? What stands out to you?
He tried to find out what was going on and try and see how he could help everyone. He tried to help everybody get out of the situation safely, and yes.
Do you remember anything specifically he said?
Not specifically.
I think plaintiff's counsel, Lawrence, asked you some questions they were sort of vague about what have you seen. Said, "Hey, watch me ski." Maybe a better way to put this question. Have you ever told your mom, "Hey, Mom, watch this," before you decide to do something on your skis if you'd like her to watch you ski?
I do not recall saying things along the lines of that.
Did Eric help your mother stand up?
I do not remember.
Do you remember Eric helping up the man that was involved in the collision?
I do not remember.
Do you remember skiing down with Eric after you left the ski site?
I don't know if it was exactly Eric, but I did ski down alone. I did not ski down alone.
Okay, how close were you to Eric as you skied down towards your mother when you realized there was some commotion or incident?
Close. I skied closely to him.
And then you stopped near your mother?
Yes.
And then how long after you stopped did you ski down? Was it like a minute or two?
I do not exactly remember. My best guess would be somewhere along the lines of 2 or 3 minutes.
So you were standing there about 2 or 3 minutes, you think?
I think so.
That completes the questioning, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may call your next witness.
Do you want to play Apple and you ask the question?
We're going to read another deposition of Apple.
Is that okay with you guys if
That's
they just
fine.
do it?
Yeah. Just let us know the pages, because remember, I don't have a fully marked copy.
Thank you.
Can you just spell your name for the record, please?
You have the page.
Oh, sorry. Page 11, line 13.
Protected identity.
And your last name?
Protected identity.
Okay, you understand that this is a lawsuit involving a ski collision at Deer Valley on February 26, 2016. Are you aware?
Yes.
Microphone more toward the center of the two of you. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Page 12, line 3. Okay, and do you recall this event back in February 26, 2016?
Yes.
Okay, how old were you back in 2016? Were you
11. No, 12.
about 11 or 12?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, what was your skiing ability at the time?
Intermediate. Beginner.
Okay.
Somewhere in between.
About how many times have you skied approximately for this date in February of 2016?
4 times.
Page 15, line 10. Okay, and do you remember your ski instructors on that trip?
Yes, we had Carrie, Preston, and then my brother's instructor, who I can't remember the name of, and one more female instructor that I also cannot remember the name of.
Page 16, line 7. Okay, that morning, do you remember skiing with which instructor?
Carrie.
Okay, and your brother was skiing with another male instructor, I think you said, correct?
Yes.
I'll just represent to you that his name is probably Eric Christensen. Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
17, first line. Okay, so do you recall that the morning of February 26, 2016, when you were skiing with Eric and Moses and
Yes.
Carrie, where had you been skiing that morning before the incident with my client?
We were on the mountain
Carrie.
at the hotel and that we were at. It was a ski in, ski out type of thing. We were mainly on the greens and blues.
Do you know about how many runs you had skied before the incident?
5 or 6, I'd say.
And were you skiing with Carrie that whole time?
Yes.
Was your mother skiing with you at the same time?
Yes.
Did your mother ever ski different runs when you were skiing with Carrie?
I don't remember.
Okay, your brother Moses, about what level is he as a skier?
Beginner?
Okay, now I'd like to go to the bottom before the ski collision that's subject of this case, okay?
Okay.
So, you were at the top of the ski hill, and I believe the run is Bandana. Do you recall the name of the run?
Yes, it was Bandana.
And why do you know it was named Bandana?
It was our favorite run.
Page 19. And you remembered the ski run because it's your favorite run, correct?
It was, yes.
And it was also the run you go down to the hotel you were staying at.
Yes.
Okay, next I'm going to ask you what you recall happening on that run, but before, do you recall this ski collision?
I did not see it, but I recall the events following it.
Okay, well, what was going on during the time just before the ski collision?
We were on our way to lunch at the lodge.
And who were you with?
I was with my instructor, my brother, my stepfather, my mother, my step-siblings, and their instructors. But we were all a bit scattered on the run, so some of us were in front, others were trailing behind a bit more.
And who was with your group?
I was ahead with my instructor, my stepsister, and her instructor.
Was Brad Falchuk with you?
No.
Sorry, that's page 20. So, just to clarify, at the time of the collision, there was you, Carrie Oakes, your ski instructor. There was IF, and then there was IF's instructor, who we don't know whose name yet. And then there was also your brother's instructor, Eric Christensen. And then there was your brother, Moses, correct?
Yes, but I was not with Moses and Eric. They were a little up the run. I was closer to the lodge at the time.
21. About how far away were you from your brother Moses, as you recall, just before the collision?
I would say I don't really know how to say it. I was further down the run. They were in the middle of the run. I was towards the end with my stepsister. I was not with Moses or my mother.
And did you know when the collision occurred?
Not the exact time, no.
Did you hear something before the collision?
I don't remember.
Did you hear a scream?
I did hear some commotion, but I was further down, so I decided to continue to go down to the lodge.
Okay, so when you heard the commotion, is that what you think is the collision?
Yes.
And when you heard that commotion, did you look anywhere?
I don't remember.
Did you see your mother after you heard the commotion?
Again, I don't remember.
So I'd like to know just the couple seconds before the collision, and then the couple of seconds after the collision. So only about 5 seconds of time. So you heard something, a commotion, right?
Yes.
And then did you see anything?
I don't recall if I had seen anything or not. I think that I did, but I don't remember.
Okay. And when you heard that commotion, you're with Carrie Oakes, your ski instructor, right?
Yes.
And where was she in relation to you? Was she above you or below you?
I believe she would have been in front of me. That is usually how we skied. She would lead me.
We're on 23 now. Okay, so the 5 seconds around the commotion that you believe was the collision, you were with Carrie Oakes and IF, and then the 3 seconds afterwards, what did you do at that point?
We continued to ski down to lunch.
And did you know at that time that there was a ski collision?
No.
When did you first learn that there was a ski collision?
When my mom had arrived at lunch after we had gotten there, about 5 minutes after.
And how did you learn about the ski collision?
My mom told me. She told us what happened.
What did she say?
She said she came in and I noticed that she looked a bit shocked, and I asked what had happened, and she said, "This a-hole ran into me. He ran right into my back." And I remember she did this motion saying that he ran into her back, and they both went down. But I remembered that's what she said.
24. So let's go back to the moment of the collision or the commotion. You heard the commotion. You didn't see the collision, but you continued to ski down.
Yes.
Did Carrie Oakes ski with you?
I believe so, yes.
And she skied with you down to the bottom.
Down to where we were eating, yes.
Okay, and when I say the bottom, I mean the bottom of Bandana Run, which is where the lodges and
Yes.
eating places are. Is that clear?
Yes.
And so right after the commotion, Carrie Oakes, IF, and you skied down to the bottom of the Bandana Run, correct?
Yes.
And who is at the bottom of the run when you got there?
I don't remember. I just know that we were meeting everybody to eat.
Okay. I'm sorry to keep going back to the commotion. Did you see anyone else on the ski run at the time of the commotion?
Well, there were other people skiing, but again, I didn't really pay attention to what had happened. I just heard some sort of screaming going on above me, but I continued to ski down, and I don't remember if I turned around or not.
Okay. Did you recognize the screaming? Whose voice was it?
It sounded like a woman, but we were so far down, I couldn't really put anything to it. It wasn't very clear.
Okay. How soon after you got to the bottom did your mother arrive?
I would say 5 to 10 minutes.
So you were waiting for her at the bottom?
Yes.
And what about Brad Falchuk? Was he with your mother when he arrived at the bottom?
I believe so.
Did he arrive sooner than she did?
I don't remember.
Well, I'd like to go back to the commotion and just let you continue and tell us, to the best of your memory, what happened. So you heard the commotion, and then what happened?
And then we continued to ski down, and we got to where we were eating lunch. We started to take off our gear and then sat down. And then shortly after, my mother, Brad Falchuk, my brother, I can't remember if my stepbrother was there or not, but everybody else followed in after I had arrived.
And who is everybody else?
To the best of my ability, I'm pretty sure it would have been my mother, my little brother Moses, Brad Falchuk. I would say 1 or 2 more instructors, and my stepbrother BF.
Okay, do you recall which ski instructors were there?
Again, I remember Carrie, my instructor, Preston, who skied with BF and IF, Eric, and I believe that there was one more female instructor, but I can't fully recall.
Okay. Do you recall anyone else besides the people you've mentioned at the site of the commotion?
No.
We're on 27. So when you're at having lunch, was the ski collision discussed at lunch?
Yes.
And what do you recall about that discussion?
My mom was explaining what had happened, saying that a man ran into her back and they both went down. And she was in a state of shock. and she decided after that she was not going to ski for the rest of the day, which she never does. She always stays on. But she decided to get off because she was in shock, and she was in a bit of pain.
Did Carrie Oak say anything?
I believe there was a conversation between them. I don't recall what it was about, but it was probably about my mom getting off the mountain.
Okay. Do you recall anything else?
I recall getting back onto the mountain for a couple more runs, and then I got off the mountain, and I think that my mom was getting a massage.
Okay. When you got back on the mountain after lunch, who were you skiing with?
I was skiing with Carrie.
Anyone else?
I don't remember. Maybe my stepsister?
Do you recall skiing with MM?
I
Moses?
I don't remember.
Okay. Were you concerned about your mother at the time?
Yes.
What was your concern?
Well, I never see her really, shaken up like that, and she was very clearly, visibly upset, and she had some sort of pain. I can't remember what, but she was in a little bit of pain, and I remember that's why she went to the spa to get a massage.
Did you discuss the ski collision with anyone after you left lunch?
I think that my step-siblings and my brother and I, we talked about it because my brother was closer to the collision, and he had also said that he skied into her back, and they, both went down together.
This is Moses. Can you tell us more specifically what Moses said?
Well, Moses was kind of telling us what had happened. I don't know if he for sure saw it, but I know that he was with people that saw it, and so they had told him what had happened and that it was what he said.
He said that my mom got hit in the back. Oh, what did he say again?
He said that my mom got hit in the back and their leg, they both went down together after somebody had skied into her back.
We are on 30. Okay, when you finished skiing, did you discuss the ski collision?
Yes.
With whom?
I believe we talked about it at dinner and after. I was checking in with my mom to make sure that she was okay.
And what did you discuss?
I asked her how she was doing, how she was feeling. She said she was in pain. Again, I don't remember where exactly, but she did say that she was in pain. She had gotten a massage, I believe. So this was around dinner time, and we had just kind of gone over what had happened.
Did she say anything about my client, Terry Sanderson?
She had earlier in the day, not immediately after, but after 5 minutes after we all met at lunch, she said that he had skied into her back, and she called him an a-hole who had skied into her back.
Anything else you can recall?
I remember she was very frantic about it, so she probably said something along the lines of that, but that would be all that I remember to the best of my ability.
31. Okay, when you discussed it with your mother and you said she was frantic, what do you mean by that?
She was in a state of shock. She was very upset, and she was in pain.
Since that collision, have you seen your mother in that state of shock like that since that?
No, not like that.
So you discussed the ski collision that night at dinner, and do you recall you were staying at a hotel suite or something?
Yes, we were in a hotel.
The next day, do you recall what you did?
I believe we skied in the morning. I can't remember if we had left that day or not. The next day, I don't really remember much.
33. And do you recall how many ski instructors were with you at the time of the collision when you started skiing again?
I believe either 3 or 4.
And one was Carrie?
Yes.
And one was Eric Christensen?
Yes.
Was another one Preston?
Yes.
Was there anyone else that you recall?
I believe that there was one more person, but I can't be too sure about that.
Okay. Did anyone tell you they had seen the collision?
I don't think so, no.
Other than your mother?
No.
35. Okay, earlier I think that you said Moses and said other people had definitely seen the collision. Do you recall saying something like that?
I don't think that I said that.
What do you recall Moses saying?
I remember him sort of telling what happened. I don't know if he saw it or not, saw the actual collision, but I know that he saw my mom on the floor.
I believe I said that he saw my... Let's see. Oh, that's you.
I believe I said that he saw my mom on the floor, but I don't think that he saw the actual collision.
Okay, so after the commotion or collision, you skied down to the bottom of Bandana Run, correct?
Yes, but again, I personally didn't see the collision.
Okay, but you heard this commotion.
Yes.
Did someone say to you ski down to the bottom of the hill after the commotion?
No, we did not think anything of it. We continued to ski down. I don't even know if we stopped.
The we includes Carrie Oaks?
Yes.
Did anyone ask you to wait by the side of the hill after the commotion?
No, I don't remember that I don't know.
That you recall? Do you recall seeing anyone going to help your mother after the commotion?
I, again, did not see the aftermath. I had continued to ski down, but I believe that people did help her.
And what makes you believe that?
Because I assumed that she would have needed help up, and she was close to her boyfriend, Brad, who is now her husband, at the time, and both my brother's ski instructors and I believe BF's ski instructor. So I'm assuming that they would have helped her.
But Carrie Oaks stayed with you down to the bottom of stayed with you down the bottom of the hill?
Yes.
What about Eric Christensen? Do you recall what he was doing after the...
I believe that he was with my brother, who was near my mom. So he was near the collision.
Okay, and do you recall which side of the hill you were on? Let's talk about skiers left and right. That means that if you were skiing downhill, the left would be the skier facing downhill to their left, and the same on the right. Do you know which side of the hill you were on ski?
I don't remember.
Okay, do you think you might have been in the middle of the hill, or the side, or near the edge of the run, Bandana?
I don't remember.
39. Can you be sure exactly that Carrie Oaks didn't stop and help your mom after the collision, or do you remember that at all?
I don't remember. I think that we were further down because I know that we got to lunch first, so I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Do you recall before the commotion on Bandana Run saying something to the effect of, "Hey, watch us ski down the hill"?
No.
Do you recall if Moses said something like that?
No.
Do you recall if any of your other people in your group, like IF or BF, say something like that?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just going to show you something here real quick. Do you recognize the person on the left there?
That's Carrie.
That's Carrie Oaks?
Yes.
42. So Carrie Oaks was recently deposed, Apple, and she actually has specific memories of being on the scene of the collision. Would you defer to her testimony of specific memories rather than sort of your vague memory that she has with you?
Yes, I could have easily been with another instructor. I believe IF had an instructor.
Lawrence, I think we have a picture of Eric which has a picture of him on the cover of it. He looks a little older than he did.
Oh, isn't he the one? Oh my God, I remember him so well. He was the best. Oh my God, he was the best. He would give us candies and he would tell us, yes, that's Eric.
Would you say he was under 50 years old?
I don't remember. I never really skied with him, so I never really saw his face. That's the end of it, Judge.
Thank you.
So, Your Honor, both Moses and Apple were ready, willing, and able to testify in person on Monday morning. But
Objection. Why don't we address that after I excuse the jury? Okay. I'm going to excuse you now until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I will recess. Please do not discuss this case with anyone, including other jurors. Please do not attempt to learn anything about the case outside of the courtroom, including from other jurors.